Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Andre The Beast Show. This is 2021. We watched season 1, and you got a taste of the guest. You got a little taste of the personality of mine. But going into 2021 in season 2, I decided to do a new approach here. So you can really get inside my mind and see the reason for the Andre the Beast Show. I'm going to allow one of my guests from season 1, who I'm a big fan of. I'm a big fan of hers because of what she stood for and what she brought to the world as it came to re-emerging or rebranding ourselves. And it kind of like showed me or validated the importance of a person's name, what a person stands for, and the individual's message. With that said, I'm going to flip the script over on my show to Yolanda Smith, and she's going to basically practice her branding on me, so so the viewers can get an idea exactly of who Andre the Beast Crayton actually is. Yolanda, welcome. You should be welcoming me down. Let's flip the script.
Andre, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for letting me be here. Oh my God, this is great. We're going to flip the script for a few just to give you guys a look in lens into what makes Andre the Beast Crayton tick. So if you're watching the show now, I just want to say to you, please comment, subscribe, like, and share, because I think we need everybody to get this segment in. So Andre, this is going to be fun. I want you to relax. I am a certified brand analyst. I will not be analyzing him today. However, we will get a little bit into him. So
why the hell am I shaking?
Because you don't know what I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask. So let's start here. We're just going to learn a little bit about you and maybe just a little bit about your story, because branding is all about being able to share your story so that people can get to know you, feel like, they can connect and understand your story. So tell us a little bit about how you grew up.
Man, I grew up in not a single family home, but my mother raised me. I had a stepfather. The first stepfather I had was a drug user. I remember walking in one time and seeing him in the bathroom with a needle in his arm. Didn't see a lot of abuse. I seen days where we would go to his, which even though he was my stepdad, his mother's house to get food, because I guess he would go to work and check off the money. My mom. My mom was really kind of kept that away from us. I had three sisters. My mom really sheltered me a lot.
And you grew up where?
I grew up here.
Okay.
I was born in Albany, Georgia, but I grew up here in Indianapolis.
Okay.
I had a pretty good life, I think, growing up. I mean, it wasn't bad. My mom left that relationship and met my other stepfather. She actually married him, had a son, my baby brother Darnell. Mm-hmm. He had some issues, I guess, like I guess most relationships, but it was pretty. Once again, my mom did a great job by not letting us see what lies behind the scenes.
Yeah. So she protected you guys.
Yeah. Then by the time I was kind of bad too, because I guess I didn't really have most guys, that role model type figure. And I acted out.
Did you play sports?
Not when I was real little, I didn't.
Okay.
I actually worked. I actually delivered newspapers, the Indianapolis Star and News, the morning and the evening. So I actually worked. And I remember a little bit of growing up. I acted out a lot, like got in fights. Was really bad. My mom didn't know how to probably deal with me at that time. So I went, like most blacks, you go to the next person in line that can put you in check, which was my grandmother. Yeah.
You going to grandma's house? Okay, that'll do it.
So I went down to Georgia, stayed with my grandmother, and immediately an awakening happened. I went to Lincoln Elementary, and the one teacher I remember to this day, Miss Jackson. I came into class late, and I seen a kid get a whooping for the first time, in front of me, and it literally scared the hell out of me. I'm like, oh my God, you're not in Kansas anymore. You can't pull that
scared
shit.
Straight.
Yeah. And it literally changed me. I mean, I don't know why it didn't happen when I was going to school here, but it literally changed me. My life began to change from that moment on. But then I was missing my sisters and my brothers. My mom was pregnant at the time that I went to Georgia, and all I could think about was, having a little brother. Because she said we having a little brother, and I went back home, and shortly after that, she was murdered.
That had to be traumatic. Yeah.
It was it was real traumatic because I didn't spend a lot of time with my mom. It was like I was in Georgia and I come back home, and I was at school when it had happened, and how you just get this feeling that something.
Yes, you just don't. Yeah.
And it was getting later and later at night, and my neighbor came to pick me and my siblings up, and my brothers and sisters rather. And by that time it was like 11 o'clock at night, and my best friend Timmy Rowan, he's actually on my social media. I was at his house, and we was like getting ready for bed, and in the middle of the night, they told me to come in the living room, and said, your mom's dead. And from that moment on, I don't know, I went into this closet, and I stayed there for years, and I wondered what the hell's is going to happen to me.
Yeah.
I remember asking where my brother was. That was the first thing I asked, because he was not there, and they said he was safe. And at the age of 10 or 11, however old I was, you don't know what's about to happen.
Yeah, that's hard to process. Hard to process. So I imagine then over the next couple years, you just had to really try to figure your way through some things. What was a turning point for you?
You know what? I don't even believe there was really a turning point. It was more like you going back down south, and no disrespect to the South, I wasn't ready for the South, if that makes any sense. There was never a beautiful projection of the South. Because I still was in school, so they didn't project the South as a warm and inviting place to go. I'm coming from Indianapolis to a little small town, and I've always felt I was bigger than that small town, not in an arrogant way.
Right.
I just felt I had more to offer than what they were able to offer me, even as a young child.
Mm-hmm.
But still, the older I got, the more life became. I won't say so much a challenge. I became fearful of failure. Especially like during holidays when kids had Christmas and stuff like that.
Right.
That wasn't happening anymore because you're now living with your grandmother who's on her way to retirement because she worked at Bob's Candy Company, and I'm at the age where I understand finances.
Right.
Somebody's got to take care of you now.
That's right. And there's no money, so what we gonna do? Yeah. So you have to sacrifice, and some things you just don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you kind of think about that, and time starts to pass, and you go into high school.
When I got into high school, it was really funny because in the schools that I went to, you go from elementary to junior high to high school, so you bond a relationship with all these kids, and I really think the only thing I was concerned about was not failing.
Now, when you say failing, do you mean like grades, or do you mean like being liked, or?
No, I was already popular, so.
I'm not surprised. Well, there you have it.
It was so funny. My popularity came crazy. It came because I had a humongous afro. It was curly and it was like huge. And back then it was whoever had the biggest afro.
Yeah.
So it was like, I remember the Johnson brothers, they were twins, they had the afro, and I'm the new kid on the block, and
you came in rocking it.
I came in rocking. And within a matter of rocking it, it got shot down because my grandmother says, you're going to get a haircut. And we went to Mr. Thornburg. He was the barber. And I said, man, just, blah, blah, blah. He gave me a chili bowl. Oh, my God. I thought life was completely over. I didn't want to go to school. All my hair was cut off.
Didn't want to be made fun of.
Yeah.
All
I'm like,
that.
oh, my God.
Teased.
And eventually I got over it. But by the time I got to high school, I think the change was now you're getting ready to become almost like an adult. Mm-hmm. The more I became closer to the age of 18, the more scared I got. Mm. Because there was nobody I can gravitate to. Like my dad was there, but he wasn't there emotionally.
Yes.
He was there money wise.
Yes.
He was great on that aspect. I mean, every summer, every Christmas, I was in Indianapolis, which I was fortunate to do that. But I wanted him to be there.
Yes.
I remember my senior year when I got the athlete of the year in high school, and when I signed my scholarship, he wasn't there. And it hurt me big time.
Yeah.
I was, and I got angry. I got real angry. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing this shit for? If
nobody cares,
nobody cares.
Yeah.
My sisters did. Mm-hmm. My brother was a little too young, but I know he cared. But it was kind of like, it took me to the point that I gotta be honest, I really didn't give a fuck. That's the attitude I took. Like, I hated the world. I hated people that had stuff. And I remember going, this was a true story. I remember going to McDonald's. There was a McDonald's up the street from my school, and I went to Daugherty High, which was at the time it still is the best school as far as I'm concerned, but it was a mixture of all nationalities. Mm-hmm. And I remember going to the McDonald's to ask for a job. There was no African Americans working there. And they would tell me every day, we got no job. Get older, I go back. I walked in there, everybody's black and got a job. And I told the man, I said, man, this is fucked up. He goes, what do you mean? I said, I remember coming here every day as a senior just to wash a dish, and I couldn't get a damn job. And he goes, really, what school you go to? I said, I went to Daugherty. And he just shook his head. And I still didn't dawn on me that time changes. I was just still that angry, not knowing
kid,
not going on.
Yeah.
I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it makes sense. So when you think about, where's the relationship with you and your siblings now? You guys still close?
Oh, me and my sisters and brothers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's good though, because sometimes that's all you got, you know.
Yeah. We're real close. As a matter of fact, my baby sister Sabrina, Lord have mercy. Yeah, she keeps the family like boom, like you don't. She's pretty much the matriarch of the whole entire family. She keeps everybody in line. If I, and I'm so thankful that, I am close to my sisters like that, and my brother, that whenever I'm in need, I know they're there for me. They're very supportive. We're a real supportive unit, and that's what I like to consider.
That's important.
Yeah, that's the reason why family is so important to me, because you got to have that. If I don't have nobody else, I should be able to depend on my family.
That's true. So let's talk about this a little bit. So it sounds like you've had some challenges even early on, and some point you made a decision that you wanted to get into bodybuilding. I mean, I know that, I remember you telling me that you ran track in school and in college and things of that nature. So kind of take me through that journey of how did it turn into bodybuilding, or what was the impetus for that?
Well, my scholarship was in track and field, and I got injured and wound up going to some type of rehab, and the guy at the time was, I guess he was a bodybuilder, but I didn't know nothing about it. And he was like, "Hey, you ever thought about bodybuilding?" And I'm thinking, first thing I said, "Can I make any money?"
Does it pay?
Yeah, I said, "Does it pay?" And he was like, "Well, if you win." So I was like, "Okay." So he trained me, and I was just like this little skinny kid, and he started training me, and I started seeing some development. But remember, though, the funny part about this is so tripped out. I got an F in weightlifting when I was in junior high school. So people that know me and stuff, they go, "Wow, you're a professional bodybuilder, but weren't you the kid that got an F in weightlifting?" I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't work out because I was like totally intimidated with it." And so anyway, move forward. He was training me for this show, the Hoosier Classic Bodybuilding Championships, and I remember getting ready for the show, and we got there, and he didn't realize how hairy I was. He goes, "Oh my God, you got to like shave." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" So he runs the store. He literally just shaves me, put the oil on. I wound up placing 5th out of 15 guys.
Okay.
The aftermath was crazy. I remember it because I bumped up everywhere with razor bumps. So I was like, "I don't think this is for me." He's like, "No, I'll teach you how to do that later. So long story short, I actually did good in the sport. I was fortunate to turn pro. I turned pro a little bit differently than most individuals did. I knew that I couldn't. I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it financially as a professional bodybuilder, but I still needed the title to go along with that. Mm-hmm. But I was already kind of like marketing myself, not the sport. I market the athletes, the accolades that came with the sport, the titles, the win, the going from. I would do 30 shows a year. I would just get in my car and just drive the shows and do them. And I said, I asked the Lord, I was like, I want to win, but I'd rather place in the top 5. That way I know I've done my homework and stuff. And by the grace of God, He allowed that to happen all throughout my career. But there was a sports agent at the USA and at the North America. And when I got off the stage, he came up to me and he was like, "Hey, I'm a sports agent. I want to offer you a contract." I thought, what are you talking about? This is bodybuilding. And he was like, "No, I'm an agent and I'm getting ready to branch over into bodybuilding. And I've been following your career. You've been going from state to state to state. And I like the way you market yourself. And I want you to be my first client." I was like, "Okay." So I got off the stage. He went to the Notary Public, signed my contract, and boom. And next thing I know, he had like 20 more guys under there, and that's how I got my professional card.
That's how you got your professional card.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, talk about some of your accomplishments. Okay, I know it. Okay, this is the part of personal branding. Let me interject. Okay, I got to let you know.
Yeah.
So, in personal branding, what we try to do is get people to really tell their story and to talk about their superpowers. So the fact that you became a professional bodybuilder means this became your superpower at that point. That's the thing that you're good at and can do better than most people. The challenge in having individuals talk about themselves is it's very uncomfortable.
Yes, it is. My underarms may be sweating right now.
He's over here cringing. But the more we can do that, the more we have the opportunity to increase our visibility and recognition for the things that we do well. Now, he's transitioned from this, and we're going to get to that. But at this point in that life, you were on top of your game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at least just give us a couple. I mean, I saw the trophy, so if I have to say it, I'll say it. But you have won something.
I won Mr. Indiana, Mr. Indianapolis, Mr. Natural, Muscle Mania. These are in my weight class division, so not all the time overalls, but was always ranked in the top in the lightweight, the bantamweight, the middleweight division. I've competed all over the world. I mean, it was clearly unheard of for a bodybuilder to do 30 plus shows a year. But I was determined to make sure that my name was out there. And not just out there, but actually to show up and somebody say, oh, damn, this motherfucker's going to do some shit. Or we heard them because they didn't have like the only way you got exposure was you went to the shows where people saw you, or you was fortunate enough to get in magazines.
Yeah, because you didn't have Twitter and Facebook and all this. Right. No social media yet. Yeah.
So I just start really just branding myself. But the good part about Indiana, and I got to give Indiana their props. I remember somebody said, you'll never get notoriety in this city. Nobody wants to hear about bodybuilding. I was like, really? I said, we're going to change that shit. So I made sure that I was able to put what I did to the public, to the public, because they needed to know I'm working just as hard as you go to work.
That's right.
And the Channel 13, Fox 59, Channel 8, Channel 6, they were very supportive with my careers. They gave me the notoriety on it. If I had a show that was big, the Indianapolis Recorder, the Star, they were really good about helping me meet my objective, which is letting the world know who I am.
Right, and that bodybuilding is real.
Yeah.
So brings me to my next question, because when you think about the discipline that it takes to achieve the levels you have in bodybuilding, what did that do for you in terms of going back to remember you were very fearful, right? So at this point, you might feel fearful, but you're at least acting on it to put yourself out there. But what did that do to sort of change that trajectory, and how did it make you feel? I mean, when you applied that discipline and that commitment and you saw the results.
Well, I mean, it was good, but people failed to realize let me put it another way. It made me feel good that I had the discipline to go out and do what I did. But then again, somebody says, how do you get on stage and pose with posing trunks on? But when you go to the beach, you always cover it up.
That's your job.
That's what I would say. That's my job.
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable doing this when I'm out in public.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, it didn't empower me. It empowered me as far as my work, but it didn't empower me to address the trauma that I was still buried deep down inside of not being able to having your mom pass away at such a young age, for just a lot of resentment that I was still harvesting. So I was the type of person I can go to work almost like a functioning alcoholic. I can go to work and be functional.
And be good at it.
And be good at it. But I wasn't able to be good at what was tormenting me deep down inside. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But how did you address that?
I later in life got into, I was in a relationship, and like most relationships, people, you argue and so forth and so on, and the individual I was with was like, hey, let's go to therapy. I'm like, go to fucking therapy? What are you talking about? I'm a black man. What are you talking about? I ain't going to no fucking therapy. So, but I was committed to the relationship.
Yeah.
And if you're committed to your work, your family, you're committed to the thing, because it takes two to fight.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, let's go do this. So I went, and the first therapist was like, you guys just need to separate. I'm like, okay, fine. That's what I want to hear.
That's easy.
Yeah, that's easy. Okay. So, and I was up front. I said, okay, my first thing was, okay, well, let's get a second opinion, because I'm committed to this. I'm not perfect, but let's get another.
That was a huge step, though.
Yeah,
that was huge.
I was like, you know what? That was too quick of a response.
Yeah.
Let's go somewhere else. So we went to another therapist, and Dr. Ross Santa Maria, and he really showed me a lot and helped me a lot with what I was dealing with. But it wasn't until I met Steve Cooper that everything that I was dealing with was a result of childhood trauma. And he showed me the first step was to address it, and I was blaming myself for a lot of it. And it's funny. I think the biggest problem that I had at that time was I did not cry at my mother's funeral, and I don't know why. I remember going to the side of my grandmother's house, and I just started hitting myself. And I think it was probably because of the shock that my best friend, the one person that I could depend on, was no longer here.
And you were very young. That was hard to process. Yeah. So that helped you. And then, it's a kind of followed your trajectory. So for those that you don't know, I've been knowing Andre a long time. So
well, don't make it seem that long.
Well, if I'm making you seem old, I'm making me seem old. But it's been a while. It's definitely been a while, but in different areas and facets. But what I think I can say with a degree of certainty is that you don't mind taking calculated risk.
No.
And so, you did your bodybuilding thing, and that's like anything else. It can't last forever for various reasons. You can be plagued with injuries. You just get older, don't want the hectic travel schedule and so forth. That one of the things you did is you kind of took a risk and decided that you were going to go the personal training route and really start a business in that area. Can you tell me a little bit about that, and what was sort of the thinking process to...
It was actually a fluke.
Kind of like becoming a professional bodybuilder.
It was actually a fluke. What happened was because I was in the gym all the time, I got offered a job, and the first job was to show people how to use the equipment and naturally to sell memberships. So I sold memberships, became a manager, and my buddy Chris Garrett came in one time, and we became friends, and he was I'm training these people. And he's like, man, you ever thought about just doing this for a living?
For yourself?
And I'm like, what do you mean? And but at that time in the 80s, that a personal trainer was something that the rich people had in California, And so I was like, this makes. So I started researching it and so forth, and I said, okay, I'm gonna try this. So went out, and so stupid and young, I went to the bank and financed the copier. They was more than willing to help me.
Finance a copy.
I financed I went to a print shop and tried to make some flyers. They was like, well, that'd be $400.
Yeah.
Okay, I got no $400. I'm young. I'm like, okay. So I said, I saw they had a printer. I said, okay. So I went and financed the printer.
You didn't finance the equipment. You financed the printer.
Yeah, I went and got the whole printer and start printing out some stuff, and me and my little brother, he helped me. He was going to Arlington High School. We just passed out flyers. And I said, wow. Then I started getting responses. But now I got nowhere to train these people. I'm like, okay, where do they need to go now? I'm getting a response to the action. So I looked in the phone book. Yes, phone book. And there was a lady that had a gym. in her barn in Beach Grove area. And I worked out a deal with her, and I sent all my clients out there. And then I started like learning how to negotiate client contracts with gyms. So I started training people in different gyms, and I knew they needed revenue for their membership, but I know a lot of clients didn't want a contract obligation. So I had to be skilled in contract negotiation so that the gyms can make their money, the client can be happy, and the only commitment that the client had to deal with financially was me.
To you.
Yeah. So that's how I got to that point.
That's brilliant. But when I met you, when I met you from a personal training standpoint, then you had your own place.
Yeah. I felt like that would be best. I looked at what I needed to succeed, and I realized people needed to be comfortable. I didn't want a lot of overhead, so I didn't want one thing I looked at was other gyms, and their biggest expense was equipment. And I was like, you know what? Before I do anything, I'm gonna make sure I own all my equipment. So I went out and I just start buying piece out of a piece. And when I got enough pieces together, then I decided to just open up my own place, because now I own everything. Now there's no liens on equipment. It belongs to me. Even though equipment depreciates, I wasn't worried about the depreciation. I was worried about making sure that I owned the items.
See, that's smart. That's smart. So, as we kind of wrap up this segment, one of the things I asked you was to give me your 6 words. And,
why did you do that?
And he didn't give them to me, so I'm going to let you off the hook. I'm going to let you off the hook. But what I do want you to give the audience, and if you're watching this, be sure to comment, like, subscribe, and share, guys, because this podcast is off the chain. I just love it. I believe in it. And we have great guests here. And but I would just want when you think about it, 2 things. What do you feel like? Because you've been through some things, and I have to admit that I'm impressed because the resilience that you've shown to get through these things and to get where you are today and to be successful with a powerful network and just wonderful people around you. What would you say was the one lesson that you learned in life that you feel like is so important to share with somebody else? And then my second question from you is, what do you want your legacy to be?
Wow, I don't like being interviewed.
We know that, because see, I asked the hard questions. But if you think about it, you went from a lot of trauma and some disappointment, fear, to overcoming, triumph, success. I mean, if you could just, if there's somebody out there that you could help today, I guess I'm saying, what is the one thing you could tell them, or you would say as it relates to your life as to what got you through? Okay, just take your time. It's okay.
You just life's too short.
Yeah.
I really hate a bunch of conflict. I'll be honest. I think life's too short, and you just have to find a way to make the best out of what you got. And no dream is too small. If I'm pretty much a visualization. This may sound stupid, and I teach my clients this. If you envision something enough, it'll happen.
You can manifest it. I believe that.
And I'm gonna get you for this.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You can. You have to surround yourself with positive people. Sometimes you have to shake a tree. Sometimes you have to shake a tree. Some people that fall off, they fall off for a reason. And the ones that clearly stand by you, that believe in you and stuff, you always know that you're thankful for that. And I learned from my trials. I learned from my mistakes. And the biggest person I have to depend on to make sure that those mistakes and those trials and those visions happen and they continue to manifest is I have to believe in myself. When there's an obstacle in the way, if I can't go over it, I'm going around it. If I can't go around, I'm going under it. I don't believe in the word can't. And if I had to leave something for what I want to leave for people is I just want to touch one person. I don't do things to touch the masses. You know what I mean? Just like this podcast, you know, I'm constantly on there asking people to like, to subscribe. And it's not for ratings and viewing. So maybe it may not be the message you want to hear, but it might be a message for somebody else to hear.
Yes, share the message. Share the message.
I want to just be able to look at. I grew up without my dad was there, but we have a great bond right now. I love the hell out of my dad. I think he's the greatest thing in the world. My mom never talked bad about him, like I hear some people. You know, she never said nothing bad about him, and I love my stepmom. You know, I love my family. I'm just family. I preach that all the time to people. You know, do family get on my nerve? Hell yeah. But you know,
but we wouldn't trade them for the world.
Wouldn't trade them for the world.
Wouldn't trade them. It is what it is.
But I'm a grandfather, and when I look at my grandkids and they say Grandpa Beast, oh my God, it just
melts that heart.
It just, you know, it just melts you because they scream and they yell. And then I realized life is really precious because I'm a single father. My daughter, I'm the first African American to get full legal and sole custody of my daughter. And I remember her from here and, you know, raising her. Mm-hmm. And now I look at her, and where once I was this superhero, I realized that, you know what, that time has passed. You know, she's getting older. But I close my eyes and go, she's always going to remember the little things I did. And sometimes it's just about those little things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, audience, I hope that you feel that you have gotten a glimpse into the life of Andre the Beast Crayton. Certainly, it has been a pleasure to do the interview. I know that I'm going to have to pay dearly for this, but I just invite you to continue to tune in to the other episodes. 2020 is off to a phenomenal start. And boy, have we got a lineup for you. So on that note, we will bid you a farewell. And again, this is the Andre the Beast Crayton show.
And on the next episode, we're going to flip the script again, and I'm going to interview both of them.
There you have it. There you have it.